I don't care.
Money,
You had her.
I've already, we probably got a lot of them taken already. There's a regularly scheduled meeting, Columbia City Redevelopment, February 11th, 2025. First item on the agenda is roll call. Carl Salley, that's me, I'm here. Samara,
Here.
Angela, not here. Dad, absent. Scott,
Here.
David,
Here, Carl.
so we got 1, 2, 3. We got four. Good. Okay, next item on the agenda is minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second. Can I second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay, we're into old business. LM&L. I will try to find this email and read it. I did get an email. This came from I got that. I can't believe it. I've been trying to find some SMCI. Anyway. Anyway, maybe I'm not gonna find it. It came in while I was. This is from Mitchell Smith. I wanted to give you an update that I am awaiting an IDM tech review on the well site. I hope they agree with the ERC for the site so we can issue a letter. As always, I'll keep you updated if I hear more. It's the first time he's ever communicated, so let's take that as a positive thing. Okay. Other than that, so that is
We've heard nothing.
in, well, basically, it depends on what you want to call it. It's a lot more than we usually hear. Okay, any further discussion on LM&L mess? Okay, Jackson Line.
I've been in contact with Mr. Bushy. I've not got the letter yet. I know, to go kind of off subject, but still on the subject, the county has reached out multiple times. I know one of our board members has had discussions with the county. I'm stuck because I don't know, I think Dale's in the same boat. I don't know if we can find another developer for that said property. You know, they would like more, that property and like 5 others. Right. They just don't want that property. And so I don't know, you know, I would love to make the decision, but this is not I'm staying in my lane. So, you know, I know the county is willing to invest some money into the property to make it look, you know, if they continue with the parking lot, to make it look not so parking lot-ish, but I didn't know if we wanted to bring.
Yeah, I'll just chime in.
Thank you.
I spoke with Chad Banks about this a couple different times, and then we had our city council retreat, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and it was a topical conversation that we had with, amongst most of us there. And so, I mean, Jerry's out, right? I mean,
Yes.
He's pretty much out. I think the misunderstanding, at least that I had, was that Jerry was separate from the developer, but he is the developer.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we have no other developers, as far as I know, right, Chad?
Correct.
And so, in speaking with Chad, he said that he would be willing to go back to the county officials to make the property look different than just a parking lot. And it would just be overflow parking, no county trucks or anything like that, literally just when they have events there. or large meetings and gatherings, there's just not enough parking for everybody. So it would just be literally consumer vehicles, small, regular sized cars and trucks. And then they would beautify it in some way that we would get some sort of say-so on how it would look if we were to offer that property to them. So with that knowledge, and I shared this with Chad, that with that knowledge, I would be interested in, going forward, at least in the discussions of it, to, as long as we're happy with the way it would look aesthetically, so. That's my 2
Are they
cents.
gonna put in stormwater control?
I think that, I mean, if you want that,
I think anything, I shouldn't say anything, but I think there's a lot on the table that they're willing to discuss, and we threw out a bunch of different ideas at our meeting, whether it be a brick wall there to differentiate the parking lot from the sidewalk so it match with the downtown. Again, beautify it so it doesn't look like just another empty parking lot, so. Which, I mean, that was my biggest concern, was the aesthetics of it, of just
Yeah.
having, again, I thought it was gonna be like overflow parking for their trucks and stuff,
Yeah.
which,
I mean, I
That's
think
a
too,
no-no.
in return, we will get my discussions with them, they
Yeah.
are willing to swap to get the Van Buren and, is that Washington parking lot. So I mean, we will get something in return, it just is not a corner lot on Lime Street.
and the parking lot can also be used, because it'll only be used Monday through Friday during regular office hours, so it would be open for the general public for First Fridays or whatever, dog and pony shows going on downtown, it can be utilized for public parking, so. All right?
Yes, I'm right on the fence, so, I mean, I would love to sway you on either way, but I see both sides, and I do not get paid for my opinion.
Sure you do, Jim.
You down?
Whether we listen to it or not.
Yeah, exactly, there you go.
Okay. Anybody have any comments?
I think it would be valuable for the RDC to decide if you're willing to have conversations with the county or not. And if so, then either designate one or two of yourselves to go and have that conversation and work out the details. To at least give the county a yes or no, or a, hey, we'll come to the table and chat. So I think it'd be valuable for the RDC to make at least a direction today.
And in order to put us on that path, Mr. Bushy needs to sign it quickly.
Yes,
Okay, can he manage that? And
Yes.
can he- Or is that something I need to draw up in Shepherd?
let me talk to him.
Okay. Simple,
We'll try to get that within the
only
week.
because all of this is premature until we have that in our name. But the mayor is absolutely correct, that's exactly what I was gonna say. is-
Rather than waiting till we get
Yeah,
to March.
designate somebody, are you even possibly interested in doing this? If it's no, then let's let everybody know that, and we can walk away. If it's yes, under certain terms, designate one or two individuals that could sort of be the point people on that for those purposes, so.
I think, given the current world situation, and given the fact that we don't have a developer, and I can't foresee one coming up, I think that we would probably be wise to pursue.
Goodwill with the county.
And see what we can get.
I agree.
As long as it looks decent.
Yeah.
I recommend appointing Tad to continue the conversation, since
Yeah,
it
that
seems like
looks
you already
like
had a good
good.
one.
Sounds like a motion.
He has.
I'll second that.
He has established relationships.
Established relationship, there we go.
That's what I'm fine with.
So, do we need a motion on such?
You just had one.
And he's second.
Okay, then let's do it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
In terms of guidance for Tad, are you guys interested in that property at the northwest corner of Van Buren and Washington Street?
Where is that?
It might be worse than.
Right across, do you know where the Columbia locker is?
Like behind the dance studio?
It's,
Yes.
yes, the
Yeah.
dance studio's right there. I was gonna say
It's
the
an
auction
L-shaped
hall or the auto parts store or whatever, but yes, it's,
It might be worse.
it's right there.
Well, I mean, if there's an opportunity to get something,
We might as well.
I mean, my,
Yeah.
The hard part on that is gonna be what it always has been for the county, is if we're gonna have to insure it, because people will park in it, because it is an improved parking area. And that's gonna be the main, I suppose, would be the main cost. Your Honor, do you think the city would have any interest in continuing to have that insured and
Can we make it?
Have what one insured?
that new parking lot?
The new parking lot?
On, Washington, the corner of Washington and, East Van Buren.
Do we have this one insured?
This one we have been covering, I thought.
Yes, I believe you.
For liability
you-
purposes, just-
Somebody has been. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming that would come after the deal, correct?
Yeah.
So I think after the deal would be approved by the RDC in that light, I think certainly if it's our property, it would be valuable for us to insure it. I think the other part of that obviously would be is to figure out, okay, if we do accept that property, and I think it's valuable to us, what are you gonna do with it? I've made my intentions known of what I think should go there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you want there. So, but yes, I think, obviously, after we acquired it, yes, we certainly would want to have insurance on it.
and I'm on our parking committee also. We get a lot of bellyaching about parking in our
Really?
city, so I know it's hard to believe.
I'm
You
shocked.
know, people have to actually walk more than a block to go somewhere. But, with that being said, I don't think it would be a bad thing, so.
David, did you have something you wanted?
What, are you proposing that it remain parking or something else?
No, well, so my personal preference would be if we could utilize frankly, the height difference between the roadway and the top of that parking lot. I think it creates an opportunity to do some unique apartments or something there on that property. That doesn't necessarily mean that, again, you're gonna have to have a developer that would do that, but that could frankly be something that, RDC has that ability and authority to do. Could also be something you partner with the housing authority on, that's another option. So, I think there's things on the table there. Do we need parking? There are days, there are hours that we need parking, but in totality, we have a walking problem. And so, but again, to be fair, every small community in the Midwest has a walking problem. So I think in the short term, yes, it could remain that until development would be there, but I think, I think you're also going to have an interested partner, or an interested party directly west of this parking lot in the dance studio, who I believe uses that parking lot, even though it's not their parking lot. So, I think there's some options on the table, is my point. Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's a sense that
Spin it.
development there would be easier than development over here, because we've already done an RFP over here, and Jerry was the only one that was interested. Okay.
This site is, the structure of the ground, layout of the ground's better on that one
Yes.
than this one.
Yes.
I mean, if you were trying to lay out something, but right now, it's gonna be a long time, I think, before we're gonna get developers that wanna do small projects. So, okay, you got your
Got my
thing,
marching
see
orders.
what you can come up with. Okay, Smith Brothers property,
Joe?
Jail.
jail. Oh, yeah, jail. Yeah, okay.
I don't currently have any updates on the jail. I've not heard back from Oak Park yet, so as soon as I do, we will let you know. But I anticipate it should, I mean, the final assessment should be completed by now, so I'm just awaiting that final document. I anticipate that will be here before the next meeting that you hold, so.
Okay. Announcement for this property. Okay, I have received some communication on the Smith Brothers from Ice Miller and from Zins. Angela from Ice Miller feels that doing a single phase one on the 4 properties is good. Okay, and that'd be $3,500, I think is what the quote was. Anyway, the only negative could be that if we had to release the phase one to the owner, they're gonna know something about the property the city owns. But you'd have to, if you do 2 phase twos, it's gonna cost a lot more money, and it doesn't help the lawyer any, so.
Who's doing the phase one that you got the $3,500 quote?
Huh?
Was it Ice, who's doing the quote, or the phase one?
SME, but it's a more extent, because you got on property, you got 4 properties and 2 owners. So it is a more extensive phase one than.
As a reminder, much of this property used to be the former light plant for the city. And when that light plant was demolished and at least partially cleaned up, much of the property was acquired by Smith Brothers. However, there is, one strip, I believe, of land in the middle that I think most parties believe is a contaminated portion of some sort that the city owns still, but has leased forever to Smith Brothers for $1 or whatever it is. I don't even know if it's $1, but basically we've allowed Smith Brothers to utilize that piece of property for themselves. Personally, I mean, I don't have any problem with the city. The piece of property, I mean, again, I don't think there's anybody here at the city that's left over from that time frame, because it was such a long time ago, meaning still in the organization. They may still be alive, but not in the organization. So, long story short is Carl, unless you have some major concerns about that, I'm not overly concerned about that.
I don't have any concerns about doing what, the legal people have said to do. I think that's good. I mean, it's, the site that the city still technically owns was a transformer yard. And if you've been around it long, transformers are nasty. And transformers tend to leak, especially the older ones, so there's a high possibility that it's gonna be nasty. So, but I guess you gotta approach it, This is our opportunity to do such. So, that's it. I'm fine with one, depends how legal counsel said that.
Yeah.
Any other opinions from anybody?
Seems like the logical next step.
Hmm?
Seems like the
Yeah,
logical next
okay,
step.
yeah.
So we just need
We need
a motion to authorize
We
that,
need
and
to
authorize you
authorize
to
it,
sign
yeah, we
up
need-
to,
well, make it up to $4,000 in case something goes haywire.
I move that we allow the phase one for costs of up to $4,000 for those 4 properties.
and authorize Carl to
And
sign.
authorize Carl to
Signing
sign
that.
if necessary.
Okay,
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, any other old business?
The four properties,
Up to $4,000.
sorry, for up to $4,000. I'll give you the signature on the documents.
Okay, if we have no other old business, move to new business. Do we have anything we want to approach before we approach the ledger size print that we got? Okay, hearing none.
Carl, did you want to talk about the Babe?
Oh, yeah, we can. I mean, you know, I don't know how we're gonna turn it down, I guess, because it's private. They own property.
We've gotten in this discussion before with whether or not we wanted to do facade grants for non-taxable property. Now, this particular one I don't think is owned by Babe.
It is.
So therefore, it's on the tax rolls, right? So I think it's a different issue than if it were a nonprofit-owned business that had gotten pulled off, or business entity that got pulled off the tax rolls. So I don't know that we have the same issues here. I think Your Honor, your understanding is basically is a renter in a
Yes.
privately owned business, right?
That is correct.
Or privately owned building. So-
And then this is,
Did this. I thought we already approved that, and that Andy was gonna have to sign.
That would explain all of this then.
yeah, because this
Didn't
is
we-
saying it was
didn't-
paid.
I remember something
it's
about
just
And the
authorize
sign's
it.
that
there.
sign.
They
It's
brought
just-
It's just authorize it.
The application for payment, so yeah, that'd be what it would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was,
That did sound familiar.
but Andy has to sign the documents.
We already approved it.
Yeah, yeah. We did that about November, December.
Yeah, that would explain
Yeah, long.
my lack of memory of it.
Yeah,
Ashley said we
It's
just
been over
need to
30
What
days.
since then?
it's been over 30 minutes.
He's not that old yet.
Ashley said we just need to approve payment on it.
Yeah, the total was 2473, so if you do half of that, it'd be 1,200 and some odd dollars.
37, something like that.
So, a little less than 1240.
I move that we pay our portion of that.
Second.
Relates to
6.
Laura Tucker is the one that's, is the owner of,
They do
is
great things.
the representative.
Yeah, just had.
Second, 1 second, second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Here, I'll. What the heck is this? 11, 20, 25. At least I got the right here. The last month's been kind of. Anyway. Is that morphine?
I'll have these items.
Anyway, I think the next item on the agenda is this ledger size
Mixed-use development.
mixed-use development for the property north of whatever that road's called that goes to Walmart.
Plaza Drive.
So what,
So this was the project that resulted in the tanking of
yes,
what we wanted to do here downtown.
yes.
Okay, just wanted to
So
clarify.
this is a very preliminary draft of what could go in there. I have presented different developers, different concepts to the property owner, but moving forward, I would like the RDC's permission for our legal service to look into creating possibly 2 TIFs, a residential TIF because people that are coming to us would like some assistance with this. And also, the city is going to assist putting the through road through there, and the initial estimate came back at $4.5 million for that street. And so we'd like to create a commercial TIF and a residential TIF. And I would just like to get, if Greg's comfortable with researching that and what we would have to do, and
All the infrastructure.
Yeah, so as a reminder, TIF districts in general were set up really to help spur development and to help with those infrastructure and other costs. We have been, so early in my tenure, the legislature changed the law to say that any of the quote-unquote legacy TIF districts had to expire because there was no expiration date on them. And then the new TIF districts that were created from that point on basically had Greg, correct me, but I think it's a 25-year timeline after bonding.
After first bonding.
So after the first bond. Well, obviously, your downtown TIF was a legacy TIF district. So some of you were on here at that time. We concluded that TIF and restarted the TIF prior to the Van Buren Flats building being built. And we have not ever bonded on the downtown TIF. Therefore, there is no time limit currently on the downtown TIF. The same goes for the railroad TIF. There is no bonding on the railroad TIF. Therefore, there is no timeline right now on that. However, I anticipate that for these two TIF districts, if you will, there probably would be bonding on it, and frankly, from a city standpoint, we would want to see some of that revenue flow to the city at some point down the road. But I do think because of the infrastructure costs, specifically about the road that goes through there, I think it makes the most sense to do do two different TIF districts, one that's residential, just for the residential part, and one that's the regular TIF for the commercial portion of it. And by doing that, I think we can help spur the infrastructure growth and frankly spur some of that area that frankly does need to be developed, maybe not redeveloped, but developed in our community for additional commercial opportunities, as well as housing that we all know is sorely needed in Columbia City. So I'm happy to answer any questions up to that point. But again, I think Chip's really just asking to allow Greg to start looking into that information to bring that process and stuff back to you, next meeting or whenever, so.
I think that makes perfect sense.
You know, you do.
Yeah, I do too.
This is awesome.
I'll make a motion that Greg research that.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion?
Are we getting a target?
We are not in the market for a Target.
It's not a Target,
We'd
it's not
love-
a Trader Joe's,
I'm
it's
just
not
saying.
Costco.
We'd love to have a Target, but we don't have 50,000 population minimum.
Target,
We get a TJ
Trader
Maxx?
Joe's
So-
would be more a down.
I know.
There are multiple entities that have looked at the site plan and have said we are interested.
Yeah, but
I would gladly help keep them in business.
So
Yes,
this says impact CNC, is this a Jerry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is
And
Jerry.
and it also says Whiteley County, so
Well, yeah.
Well, and Bay Bridge
That's
Court
true.
is not Bay Bridge Court according to on this map.
Whoops.
It's Longfellow Boulevard or whatever the heck they call it.
west and east of I-69 overpass.
It absolutely does,
Oh,
don't
boy.
it?
Quite a ways.
Quite a ways west.
They do a lot of copy and pasting.
Okay,
You can read that.
That is an,
Very
preliminary. You don't worry about too much.
I will be glad to
and,
look at that and report
Well, if
back.
they're
I
waiting
can't
for the
either.
overpass to go in before they can do this, I'm not gonna be around.
Nice glasses.
This is
long
this is
time.
exciting to see something happen with that project.
Yeah, it is, it's been sat there graded out for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
She sent me
that's
a
Walmart
message.
went in.
Yeah, so, it would be a great thing, and, might as well get the tip out of it so we can afford to put the infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we have agreed, right? Okay, research. Any other new business? Hearing none, you want to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, so we adjourn. Goodbye. Farewell.